Think about cities in a way that they can themselves become functional ecological systems, meaning that we can grow and consume food locally. It helps in lots of ways. It's not just in reducing the fossil fuels required to transport food, but it's also about the time that it takes from production to consumption. And if there's also a direct link between producers and consumers, it means that it cuts out a middle person, which cuts out costs. The other thing that it does is that people who consume in the city might actually get to know a little bit about farming or any form of agriculture, and that's really a good thing, right?
So aquaponics is two things, basically. You're growing fish in fish tanks, and you're growing plants in these grow beds like we have here. And so each fish tank that we have feeds one of these grow beds, and the water circulates in between them. So you've got fish living in these tanks with water that drains down to the grow beds after it goes through a filter to take away the solids. Comes in here, and there are three types of bacteria that live in the grow beds here that convert the ammonia into nitrate, basically converting the thing that is poisonous to the fish into plant food, because nitrate it's like a supercharged plant food. It makes green leafy vegetables grow really fast. So the things in this grow bed will actually grow faster than they would in the ground. So you've got a conventional farm that's in the ground where you have to work the land and water it. And then you have this method, we call it climate adaptive type of farming. You can't do anything like carrots or beets or anything like that because they would just rot. It's not using nearly as much water as you would think. Even though it's entirely water-based, it's using about 85 to 90% less water than a conventional farm would. So we just drop a seed in one of these little cubes. When they get to about this size, we can put them in a tray, and they live their whole life here. We try to harvest them young, and that's why we're planting multiple seeds in each of these floods. It's a very simple idea. I mean, done at a very high tech level. Limitations are with our type of system. We can't grow any flowering plants, so fruits like tomatoes and peppers, it just doesn't get the right environment under the water. But there are aquaponic systems where people can grow that.
Well, we were growing a garden in East Austin, just traditional. And about 5 years ago was about the peak of the drought in Texas. And it was really bad. It was a real brutal summer. I started doing research on ways to conserve water. And I came across this guy who was doing aquaponics in Australia. And he had like this little system that he put out online, like how to build it. So I just made that system, and that was kind of my intro into aquaponics. And it just worked so much better. It was crazy. Like, you got stuff growing outside that's dying, and then everything that I was putting in the aquaponics system, it was like lush. This is our aquaponics system. We're growing everything in a 3,500 square foot greenhouse. It's all based off of fish waste being converted into plant food. It's a closed loop system, so we really never have to add water unless we have evaporation, which is, minimal. And we're able to grow a lot more dense. So this greenhouse would be equivalent to close to an acre of traditional. We have these two big fish tanks back here, which hold, during the spring, close to 300 pounds of tilapia. And the water is fed into these 16 grow beds, which acts as a solids filter. It filters out any solid fish waste and converts it into plant food. And it's a few parts of the process. One of them is we have these red wiggler composting worms in here. So any solids that end up in here, these guys break down and further turn into plant food. Basically, the water fills these beds up and saturate the plant root with nutrients. And then this water is pumped back to the fish tanks nice and clean. We have it kind of circulating throughout about every 45 minutes. And so this is the first part of our hybrid media and raft system. After the water goes through all these beds, it ends up down here in these ponds. And since they're not fighting for nutrients, they're basically completely saturated in nutrient. We could plant them really dense. Each one of these boards has 72 heads of lettuce on it. So in this greenhouse right now, there's about 1,500 heads of lettuce growing. In the media, we're able to grow stuff that's a little bit more hardy. And what I typically do is the stuff that grows in here, I'll just do stuff that is called cut and come again. Like, you know, I've been harvesting off these guys, and basically I'll just, you know, cut a couple leaves off, and then in a week or two, this will grow back. But, you know, we just do this with the media beds. But in the rafts, I grow stuff like lettuce where you're harvesting the entire plant. Agriculture can't continue to just use water and use resources like it's never going to end, because it will, you know. And what happens then when all these fields dry up and there's no other way to do it?